through, appropriate programming. And the risk for suffering is there, yes. They could get hit by a car. Are there bad people out there who do bad things to cats? Yes. But indoor life does not mean that they're never going to have any hardships either. There are risks to indoor cat life too. Freak accidents happen, right? Like, not to get too somber, but I've seen cats that are shut in the recliner, right? Like, accidents can happen inside just like they can outside. So it can't be a blanket statement that every cat outside is going to be at risk for major injury or accidents, and inside cats aren't. Life is hard wherever you live. So if these cats are already living and thriving outside, generally what's best for them is to maintain that and support it as best we can. And then the last one, again, I won't go too in depth in this, but socializing feral cats, I don't know, in some situations I do think it can work and be successful, but a lot of times, at least from the experience I've seen, it tends to be more so for us. Like, I want this cat to get inside, I want her to be inside, but let's empathize a little more with that cat. Does the cat want this? Does it want to be forced to be close to a species it is terrified of all day long, every day? Maybe not. So just, again, I'm not saying any of this is necessarily right or wrong. It's just a very large conversation, and we have to look at all the nuances and take everything to heart and talk about them. And then on the flip side, so I was talking a whole bunch about cats, human benefits. Like, this is good as, especially a humane society like us, where we, work with a lot of organizations, we work with the community, we work with governments, we have a lot of different relationships. We are stewards of public health just as much as we are stewards of animal welfare. So the human benefits, like the smell of tomcats in your garden or your backyard, like, that's not a pleasant place to be in as a person. The noise from cat fights or a cat in heat, everybody knows what a cat in heat sounds like, right? Or those tomcats battling it out, like, middle of the night, WWE style, like, people, that's not good quality of life for the people. So when we are able to do, successful, impactful TNR or RTF work, those sorts of side effects that we have to deal with should be decreased as well. And then the rabies, we fortunately don't see a lot of rabies these days because of vaccines and awareness, but when the domestic cases show up, at least in Minnesota from the reports I see, it's usually, things like it's domestic animals like cattle or cats are generally the ones that we see in our area that are the positive non-wildlife ones. So if we're rabies vaccinating and putting all them back, it's going to, one, benefit the cat, two, benefit the people, and also all the wildlife that we also care about. We share our space, even in towns, with raccoons, with skunk, with coyotes, they're all cohabitating with us in these areas. So the rabies vaccine is a big part of why we should consider TNR work as well. And then the trauma from witnessing the predation effects, which, some of us, we're used to that, we see that, but, I get it when people call and they're angry about their cats outside, like, I'm sick of seeing the baby bunnies getting eaten, or I'm sick of seeing, my songbirds at the bird feeder getting predated on. Like, I don't want to see that either, and that is traumatic for you as an animal lover, and we want to decrease that. And honestly, the best way to decrease that, it sounds counterproductive, but it is, the way to do it is to leave that cat there, but make sure it's not reproducing. Make sure that we're not adding more to that. And then also the stress of your own cats. I don't know if anybody else has multiple cats like I do, some of which are male bottle babies with attitudes. And she sees a cat outside, gets real worked up. So that's another thing that's going to be a benefit to us and our households if those outside cats are fewer and not so present. And often once they're fixed, they're not doing as much roaming. So they might stay to their kind of safe, secure, instead of going from yard to yard and stressing everybody out. So TNR, RTF is good for people too. And then on to that, the wildlife and birds. I think I've covered it, the fewer cats, just the basic of it. Fewer cats is fewer hunters, which means fewer animals. are going to be predated on, especially those birds. And I don't want to make too much of it, but also it's not just the cats. And yes, we want to focus on cat management, but there's a lot of other things we do as a community, as a society, as a whole, that is not good for wildlife and birds. So this is one part of that, and it's an important part, but again, we want to think of the complexity of these issues. And if there's a reliable source of shelter and food for that cat, so caretakers, you know, if you're annoyed that your neighbor keeps feeding these cats, well, if she has a safe haven for them, they might not be in your yard as much, if they're fixed especially, and then in which case, maybe they're not going to hunt as much or come to your bird feeders if they know that they have everything they need because of other sources. So again, it's not an either or. It's we can help wildlife and birds and the cats at the same time. Another thing that I personally for many years failed to leave out of the conversation, and I'm trying to make a bigger effort to do that, is to remember that for the people who don't want cats in their yard, there's more you can do than just trap that cat or, you know, TNR that cat or whatever it is. There are ultrasonic deterrents that emit ultrasonic waves that can keep cats and other creatures away. Motion-activated sprinklers, again, these are financial investments, but other tools that we can recommend to people who don't want to see these outside cats and don't want them in their yard. So the motion-activated sprinklers might be an investment, but probably going to be a pretty effective way to keep these feral cats out of your backyard. Repair and close the gaps in your decks, foundations, or buildings. That's the big thing, that if you have a place for them to take shelter and find food, they're going to come. So make sure there's no access to garbage and food, keep those things indoors, and make sure that there's not gaps in your garage or outbuildings where cats can get into. Because if cats are getting in there, it's not just cats. You know, like I said, we have raccoons in town, we have other creatures, so kind of cat-proofing your yard is really important. My favorite one, I tried really hard with a customer a few weeks ago, came in with a trapped cat, and he said, you know, we used to never have cats around our backyard because we had a dog. I said, I can help you with that. I can get you a dog right now. He wasn't ready, but it does, so get a dog. I mean, some people might say yes, and if they do, that's one more dog out of your shelter too. Garden stakes, chicken wire, they make really cool guards too, like whether it's chicken wire or like those upside down e-collar looking things that to keep squirrels out of your bird feeders. Some of those things also help keep cats out of those areas too. So getting creative and, you know, again, it's all about cat management strategies, plural, and this is another way that, another tool is to help people cat-proof their yards to decrease those concerns. So a quick recap of some of our key points of like our program, and again, every organization is different. Like I would love to build on this. I would love to have like a team who mobilizes and goes out and traps and does big trapping events. You know, we're going to try and trap all this colony in one day, and then we're going to do all the surgeries over 1 to 2 days, and then this one is done. We're not there yet. I don't know if we will be, but it's nice to have goals. So again, a recap of what we're currently doing is we're removing our friendly cats for adoption when and where it's feasible. We are removing our kittens as soon as possible, granted that they can be away from mom. And we're focusing on one colony at a time. We want to educate and collaborate, lots and lots of small conversations all day long. And our staff at Tri-County is really great at constantly getting calls or people walking in and having those hard conversations every day, and we do see it's making a difference. We are having fewer feral cats housed in the shelter over the years, so every little interaction adds up. Work within your resources and just take it one step at a time. So right now we can do the spays and neuters. We have a great veterinary team, so we need the other people to do the groundwork, and that's where your volunteers and your community stakeholders really come into play. So I recommend these TAP 2 resources, most of you probably know, maybe not, like they are like my favorite articles. I have my highlighted copy in my desk always ready to go. This is why, this is why. But there's a lot of good resources out there as far as how to start these programs, and even if it's just, you know, 1 cat a month is something to get the project started. So those are some of the recommended resources and readings. And then the last, as I said, I didn't talk a lot about going out and trapping and doing that groundwork, but these 3 sources, especially that Community Cats podcast, really has great educational sources on trapping difficult cats and how to mobilize community members. So those I always recommend. So that's all I have. As you can tell, I love cats. I love feral cats. If I could do feral cats all day long, I would be happy. But I enjoy speaking with you guys today, and if you have questions, let me know.
We do have some time with this one. If anyone did have questions right away, we could take a couple minutes.
Covered everything.
Over here.
Oh, yeah.
I was just wondering if this is available online to attendees through the presentation.
So we're going to have the slides, I believe, I know the first couple presentations, and Rose is for sure, if you guys are willing to share, we will email you a link to our website page that will have all of the slides available. If anybody wants to, we do have our RTF questionnaire that we'd be happy to include as a resource. We're recording these presentations, and so if we can get that all on YouTube, we can also share the recordings as well. So.
What do you do about
So it waxes and wanes because we also, it's kind of a moving target because a lot of it depends too on our internal population in the shelter. So some months where we're busier, where I know it's gonna be harder to keep up on in-house surgeries, we don't open up as many. But like if all goes well, I can do usually 9 to 10 cats a week at our high, like our biggest availability. So that doesn't always work out that way. I might have to skip a month or 2 here or there. So, you know, about that much, less than, say we did 10 a week, 40, so maybe 30 in a good month. Yeah.
Do you have like the trappers pay for it? Is it a free service for the community?
That's a great question. We do ask for a fee, but we don't turn folks away. We just try to word it that, you know, this is a resource-intensive program. You know, we all know vet care is not cheap. I mean, it is a valuable service and it costs money. So we ask for, I believe, $50 per cat, which maybe covers our time. But if they can't, we won't turn them away. And you know, some people can't do any, and some will give us $100 or $200. So we do ask for it, but we also consider the fact that yes, it's benefiting that person and that animal, but also us, because if I know you're just going to bring us this litter of kittens, you know, and you know, if we don't fix it, it's, you know, weighing those benefits too.
Do you work with just individuals or any other rescue groups that maybe that?
Mostly individuals. Yeah, I would like to open it up even more, but we have, like I said, such a demand in our community. So we used to actually take requests from all over the state, like from the metro, from way up north, from, you know, 2-hour drives. And we can't keep up with it, so we actually have narrowed it down mostly to our Tri-County area and prioritizing ones that are close by, you know, to help our direct community. We do have one of the local municipalities we work with is on board and like gave us the thumbs up for doing TNR type work in their jurisdiction. So we're also, when we get calls from that particular people who live in that area, I'm trying to expedite those because that will help, I think, grow if we see like it's right next door, this is working and people are appreciating the service, then maybe it'll spread even more. But I think one day we help other organizations as best we can. It's just trying to keep up with what we already have right now.
So you don't intake any of them? These are all individual?
Correct. Yeah, they're like instead of an intake in our system, it's a service in, a public service, yep. Oh, yeah.
In that jurisdiction that you were just referring to, is that community or that jurisdiction, are they contributing to the cost, any economic, money to help defray?
Not specifically for those ones, but yes, for we contract with Strays and other type of intakes with that group. So it more so we don't, because there's times where we get a truly feral cat in, and then we have to do the legal stray hold when we know this isn't really a stray, someone's pet. We know it's been living in this area. This person has told us about it. So it does benefit us, even without that financial assistance, that we don't have to house a feral cat for that minimum stray hold and then get them on their path. So maybe one day.
So you said you switched from kind of a call or complaint-based strategy to more of a targeted strategy. How did that transition go, and what's the messaging you give? If you're targeting a certain area, what's the messaging you give to the kind of people who call for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're still in that transition because we're still getting a lot of those calls. And one, like I said, we focused on our area. These cats that you're describing would be a good candidate for this program, but with our limited availability, we have to focus locally. And then, the one-offs, even if it's a small, she's like, this one tomcat has been here for 3 years, I would still probably do that one, because we can slip in, 1 or 2 cats. It's more so those bigger groups that's like, okay, because what we used to do is Susie, you get 3 surgery spots, Jack, you get 3, whatnot. So then instead of doing that, then it's just kind of one at a time. We'll keep you on file, and once we get done with this population, then we'll try to work with yours. And in the meantime, refer them to other organizations like MinSnap.